Do you realize we're witnessing the biggest shift in global power dynamics right now? That mysterious incident we saw recently wasn't just about an unknown aircraft breaching Israeli airspace. This was the clearest proof that power is changing hands, that the rules of warfare have been completely rewritten, and that no country can feel safe anymore. What I'm going to share with you today isn't just an analysis of that event's technical details. This is a deep dive into why even the world's most advanced defense systems are no longer sufficient, where real power is hidden, and who will emerge victorious in the future. Recent events have shown us that billion-dollar defense systems, hundreds of radar networks, and advanced satellite technologies can still be penetrated with the right strategy. But here's the real question. Is this just a technological failure, or is it a sign of a much larger paradigm shift? For years, world powers operated under the assumption that whoever had the bigger army, longer range missiles, or more advanced tanks would win. The Cold War era was built on this understanding. Two superpowers accumulated massive arsenals against each other, and whoever had more nuclear warheads was assumed to be more powerful. But now we're playing a completely different game. The winner is no longer the most visible, but the most invisible. Not the one with the biggest budget, but the one implementing the most creative strategy. Not the one with the most soldiers, but the one with the smartest technology. This change is so radical that powers still carrying old paradigms in their heads are left in bewilderment. Israel's defense system, with its Iron Dome, Arrow, and David's Sling components, is considered one of the world's most sophisticated systems. This system successfully repelled thousands of rocket attacks and became the cornerstone of Israel's security doctrine. Billions of dollars in investment, cutting-edge technology, constant updates. So how does such a system get penetrated by an unidentified aircraft? The answer is simple, because the rules of war have changed, and the side that best understands this change is winning. In the modern age, real power lies not in managing large armies, but in intelligently using small and effective systems. A drone can neutralize $1 million fighter jet. A cyber attack can collapse an entire defense network. A single well-planned operation can overturn years of strategic planning. This isn't just a matter of technological superiority. This is a completely different way of thinking, a different approach. While traditional military thinking focuses on the question, how can I be stronger? Modern strategy focuses on how can I be unpredictable. Now let's return to the story of that mysterious aircraft. This vehicle didn't just penetrate defense systems, it completely disappeared after the attack. It vanished as if it had never existed. This situation created psychological and strategic consequences far more important than the technical aspects of the event, because uncertainty has become one of the most powerful weapons of the modern age. When your enemy can't see you, track you, or predict you, you've already won the psychological war. This isn't just the success of that moment's operation, it's a superiority that affects all future calculations. Israel's bewilderment is understandable, because their entire defense doctrine is built on detecting threats early, classifying them, and providing appropriate responses. But when faced with a threat they couldn't identify, classify, or trace the source of, the entire system was shaken. This situation isn't just a military matter. It has economic, diplomatic, and social dimensions. Investors panic in the face of uncertainty. Countries urgently review their defense budgets. Technology companies allocate more resources to artificial intelligence and autonomous systems. And here's where global silence comes into play. After the incident, neither major media organizations made detailed reports, nor did world leaders issue official statements. This silence isn't coincidental. It's the biggest proof of how serious and disturbing the event was, because now everyone is asking the same question. If such technology really exists and can be used, how secure are our systems? From the Pentagon in Washington to the Kremlin in Moscow, from Zhongnanhai in Beijing to Whitehall in London, all security experts share the same concern. This silence is actually a sign that a new reality is being accepted. No defense system is 100% secure anymore. No country is completely protected. And most importantly, threats can now come from anywhere. Future wars won't be fought with big explosions and visible armies. Instead, they'll take place quietly, in the shadows, in the digital realm, and at unexpected moments. Tomorrow's powerful countries won't be those with the biggest tanks, but those with the smartest algorithms. Not those with the most soldiers, but those with the most advanced cyber capabilities. This change isn't happening only at the state level. The same dynamics are at work in the business world. Competition between companies is no longer about who has bigger offices or more employees. It's built on who can adapt faster, who can find more creative solutions, who can notice changes in the market earlier and act on them. How did Netflix beat Blockbuster? By opening bigger stores? No, by changing the rules of the game. How is Tesla threatening traditional automotive giants? By building more factories? No, by combining electric vehicle technology and software to create a completely new category. Those who can see invisible opportunities, who can start silent revolutions, who can make unexpected moves, are winning. This doesn't just apply to the technology sector. The same rule operates in finance, healthcare, education, and even agriculture. What used to be available only to superpowers is now spreading to a wider range of actors. This isn't just about states anymore. Non-state actors, proxy groups, and even private entities can now access capabilities that were once the exclusive domain of major power. Think about what this means for global stability. When a small, well-funded group can potentially penetrate the defenses of a major military power, the entire concept of deterrence breaks down. The traditional calculation of if you attack us, we'll destroy you, becomes meaningless when the attacker can strike and disappear without a trace. This is why the silence after the incident was so telling. It wasn't just about protecting classified information or avoiding panic. It was about the recognition that admitting the full extent of what happened would fundamentally undermine confidence in existing security frameworks worldwide. The implications extend far beyond military affairs. Economic markets depend on predictability and security. When investors realize that even the most secure countries can be penetrated by unknown actors, it creates a new category of risk that's almost impossible to price or hedge against. Look at what happened to Israeli tech stocks after rumors of the incident began circulating. The startup nation brand that Israel had carefully cultivated for decades suddenly seemed vulnerable. International investors started asking uncomfortable questions about political stability, security guarantees, and the long-term viability of operations in a region where the rules of engagement were clearly changing. But here's where it gets really interesting from a strategic perspective. The incident wasn't just about demonstrating technological capability, it was about sending a message. And that message wasn't necessarily directed at Israel alone. It was a signal to every major power that the era of technological monopolies is over. For decades, military superiority was maintained through technological advantages that were difficult to replicate. Stealth technology, precision guidance systems, advanced radar, these were carefully guarded secrets that gave certain nations decisive advantages. But we're now entering an era where these technologies are becoming commoditized, where smaller actors can achieve similar results through different approaches. You don't need to match your opponent's capabilities, you need to make their capabilities irrelevant. While major powers invest billions in next-generation fighter jets, a sophisticated adversary might invest in swarms of cheap drones that can overwhelm any defense system through sheer numbers and coordination. The psychological impact of this shift cannot be overstated. Military planners who built their careers on the assumption that technological superiority equals strategic success are now facing a reality where their most advanced systems can be neutralized by creative thinking and unconventional approaches. This creates what strategists call strategic vertigo, a disorienting sense that the fundamental assumptions underlying your planning might be wrong. When your most sophisticated defenses can be penetrated by unknown actors using unknown methods, How do you plan for future threats? How do you allocate resources? How do you maintain public confidence? The answer, as we're seeing play out in real time, is often to pretend the problem doesn't exist, to maintain the fiction that existing systems are adequate, that the incident was an anomaly, that normal deterrence relationships still apply. But this kind of denial only makes the ultimate reckoning more severe. What we're witnessing is similar to what happened in the business world when digital disruption began reshaping entire industries. Established players initially dismissed new competitors as niche players who couldn't possibly threaten their market dominance. But by the time they recognized the threat, it was often too late to respond effectively. The same dynamic is now playing out in the security realm. Traditional powers are struggling to adapt to threats that don't fit their existing framework. They're investing in more of the same, bigger, more expensive versions of systems that may already be obsolete. Meanwhile, the actors who understand the new paradigm are operating with completely different assumptions. They're not trying to build better versions of existing systems. They're trying to make existing systems irrelevant. They're not competing on the old metrics of success. They're changing the metrics themselves. This is why the incident was so psychologically devastating for observers who understood its implications. It wasn't just a tactical failure, it was evidence of a strategic paradigm shift that most major powers are unprepared for. The economic implications of this shift are staggering. Defense contractors who have built billion-dollar industries around traditional weapons systems suddenly face the prospect that their most advanced products might be vulnerable to much cheaper alternatives. Countries that have invested heavily in conventional military superiority are discovering that their investments might not provide the security they expected. But there's also tremendous opportunity in this disruption. Just as digital transformation created entirely new industries and business models, this military technological shift is creating opportunities for innovative approaches to security, defense, and international relations. The countries and organizations that recognize this shift early and adapt accordingly will have enormous advantages over those that cling to old paradigms. The future belongs to those who can think asymmetrically, act unpredictably, and leverage technology in creative ways. So what do we need to do to survive and thrive in this new world? First, we must fundamentally accept that change isn't coming. It's already here. Old security concepts, traditional competitive strategies, and conventional wisdom about power dynamics are not just outdated, they're dangerous. Clinging to them is like trying to fight tomorrow's war with yesterday's weapons. Second, we must develop what I call strategic agility, the ability to rapidly assess new situations, adapt our approaches, and pivot when circumstances change. This isn't just about being flexible. It's about building systems and mindsets that assume change is the only constant. Third, we must invest heavily in understanding and leveraging emerging technology. Artificial intelligence, quantum computing, biotechnology, nanotechnology, these aren't science fiction anymore. They're the building blocks of tomorrow's competitive advantages. But technology alone isn't enough. We need to combine technological capabilities with creative thinking, strategic vision, and deep understanding of human psychology. Fourth, we must master the art of coalition building in an era where traditional alliances are fractured. The future belongs to those who can build dynamic, flexible partnerships that bring together diverse capabilities and perspectives. This applies whether you're a nation building diplomatic relationships, a company forming strategic partnerships, or an individual building professional networks. Fifth, we must become experts at operating in environments of extreme uncertainty and information scarcity. The days when you could plan based on clear intelligence and predictable opponent behavior are over. We need to develop decision-making processes that work even when we don't have complete information, even when the rules are changing in real time. Sixth, we must understand that in the new paradigm, speed often trumps perfection. The ability to rapidly prototype, test, and iterate is more valuable than the ability to plan elaborate long-term strategies. This doesn't mean being reckless.
It means being comfortable with calculated risks and rapid adaptation. Seventh, we must recognize that information warfare is now as important as physical warfare. The battle for narrative control, for shaping perceptions, for influencing decision-making processes across networks of stakeholders, this is where many future conflicts will be won or lost. The incident with the mysterious aircraft wasn't just a military event, it was a masterclass in all of these principles. An unknown actor used emerging technology in an unexpected way, operated in an environment of extreme uncertainty, moved with incredible speed, and achieved strategic impact far beyond the immediate tactical operation. But here's what makes this even more significant. We're still in the early stages of this transformation. The technologies that enabled this incident are continuing to evolve rapidly. The strategic approaches that made it possible are being refined and expanded. The actors who demonstrated these capabilities are learning and adapting. This means we can expect more surprises, more paradigm-breaking events, more moments when our fundamental assumptions about how the world works get challenged. The question isn't whether this will happen again, it's whether we'll be prepared when it does. For individuals watching this analysis, the implications are profound. Your career success, your financial security, your personal safety, all of these depend increasingly on your ability to navigate a world where the old rules no longer apply. The skills that got you to where you are today may not be sufficient to keep you there tomorrow. This isn't meant to frighten you, it's meant to empower you. Because while this new world is more uncertain, it's also more full of opportunity for those who understand how to operate within it. The same forces that are disrupting traditional power structures are creating space for new leaders, new ideas, and new approaches to emerge. For business leaders, this analysis should fundamentally change how you think about competitive strategy, risk management, and organizational design. The companies that will thrive in the coming decades are those that can operate like that mysterious aircraft, moving quickly, adapting constantly, and achieving outsized impact through creative application of available resources. For policymakers and government officials, this should be a wake-up call about the limitations of traditional governance approaches in an era of rapid technological and strategic change. The institutions and processes that worked in the 20th century need fundamental reimagining for the 21st century. The mysterious aircraft that penetrated Israeli defenses and disappeared without a trace wasn't just a military incident, it was a symbol of a new era where invisible capabilities matter more than visible strength, where unpredictability is more valuable than overwhelming force, and where understanding the new rules of the game is more important than mastering the old one. The silence that followed wasn't just about protecting secrets, it was about the recognition that admitting what really happened would force a fundamental reassessment of assumptions that underpin our entire global order. But that reassessment is coming, whether we're ready for it or not. The future belongs to those who can see around corners, who can operate in the shadows, who can turn constraints into advantages, and who can move faster than their opponents can adapt. It belongs to those who understand that in a world of infinite connectivity and accelerating change, the most powerful weapon isn't the biggest, is the ability to think differently. Thank you for watching this comprehensive analysis. If this deep dive perspective helped you understand the invisible forces reshaping our world, smash that like button and let me know in the comments. Subscribe to Power Vision for more analyses that reveal the strategic patterns most people miss. Share your thoughts below. What other invisible shifts do you see happening in our world? What industries or institutions do you think will be disrupted next by these same forces? Share this video with anyone who appreciates strategic thinking and wants to understand how power really works in the modern world. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming analysis on how these same principles are reshaping global economics, technological development, and social structure. Remember, in a world where change is accelerating exponentially, the only sustainable competitive advantage is the ability to learn and adapt faster than everyone else. The world doesn't just belong to the powerful, it belongs to the prepared, the perceptive, and the adaptable. This is Power Vision, where we don't just see what's happening on the surface, we reveal the invisible currents that are actually shaping tomorrow. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and never stop questioning what everyone else takes for granted.